Hello everyone, welcome to this session. Our chapter is map reading and interpretation, and we are still discussing about the various relief features, how they can be shown on the topographical maps. So far in our previous session, we covered up these various relief features and their various contours on the maps. So today, let's move on to the other part where we'll be talking about the information from maps. So specifically, we'll see what kinds of information you can obtain from the maps. So specifically, we'll discuss about describing the relief and the vegetation on the topographical maps. So starting with the first part, describing relief on the topographical maps, we'll see the various steps that you can get them, or how these various steps that you can follow them just to describe the relief features. So the description of relief, starting with the first step. So here are the kinds of points that you have to note in the first step. The first one, that be specific when describing the relief of an area shown on the map. So you have to be clear when you're describing the kind of relief that is shown on the map. Give a general description of the area, either is either of these, whether the area is mountainous, hilly, plateau, lowland, valley, or just any other major relief type. So you just have to give first a general description of the area, then state the general altitude, identifying the possible lowest and the highest points. So you have to state the general altitude, but first you have to identify the possible lowest points by looking at the contours, and then you can identify the highest points also by looking at the contours, include the actual or the approximate heights and their specific locations on the map, and then use contour lines, spot heights, and these are trigonometrical points to obtain this information. So we've seen all these kinds of ways, the contour lines, spot heights, and the trigonometrical points. These are just kinds of ways that you can present various features on the topographical maps. So you can use these kinds of methods or categories just to point out and obtain the information you want from the map. Out the screen for the first, then also give the most accurate height possible. So you have to give the most accurate height possible by observing these kinds of, either you are trying to use the contour lines, the spot heights, or the trigonometrical points. Moving on, let's see the description of the relief. The second step, in second step, if the map shows different relief regions, divide the area into clear sections. Then after dividing, examples of relief regions include the highland, the plateau, the lowland, and the swamp area. So you can just divide the area into clear sections. For example, you can divide into the relief regions such as the highland, the plateau, the lowland, and the swampy areas. Then you describe each region separately and in detail. So you can describe each region separately and in detail. Then after mention the slopes, the range of the heights, and the nature of the slopes in each region. Then set the general direction of the slope. So the general direction of the slope, you can tell you whether it's going up or down. In that way, you can identify the kind of slope which you have and identify the landforms present and describe their characteristics. So that's how you can describe about the relief by taking those kind of steps in the second, by taking those kinds of points in the second step just to identify the relief from the map. Moving on, description of the relief. Third step, locate the relief features or the landforms shown on the map. Then after locating them, describe their distribution by using the grid references, points of the compass, or the nearest place names, or nearest named places. Then you, for slopes, state the type, direction, the this comparative steepness, or the gentleness of the slopes. Then use suitable slope terms such as the regular slopes, the convex slope, concave slope, and the gentle slope. So you can use these kinds of suitable slope terms. Then make your location and distribution clear so that the map reader can follow the description easily. So that's the other point you have to note in this third step. Moving on, let's see the vegetation of the topographical maps. So here we'll try to see how the vegetation they can be observed and how they can be described in these topographical maps. Only selected types of vegetation are shown on the topographical maps. These may include the forest, the thicket, the bamboo, the riverine trees, woodland, scrub, scattered trees, palms, and swampy vegetation. Specific swamp plants they can be deduced from the type of swamp shown on the map. Then examples include the mangrove trees, the swamp trees, mashed plants, and the papyrus. The symbols used to represent vegetation are often explained in the map key. So that's how we can just tell the various kinds of vegetation on the topographic map, but mainly after getting to know the kinds of vegetation that are there, there's also this the map key will just show the various symbols that were used to represent the various vegetation that they are shown on the topographical map. So describing vegetation, yeah, just steps. First, identify and name all the vegetation types that are shown on the map. Then describe each vegetation type separately. After describing each vegetation type separately, then indicate the location of each type by using the grid references or compass directions. Then a description may state, for example, that dense forest is in the east and the mangrove trees occur along the river. If the vegetation area is named on the map, such as for example, the Nyandarua forest, use that name to identify its position and the type. Estimate and state the area covered by each vegetation type. So that's how you can describe the vegetation, and those are just clear steps on how you can do so in the topographical maps. Now, explaining vegetation distribution, do not stop at naming and location and locating vegetation. Explain why it is distributed that way. So, base the explanation on the evidence provided by the map. Then, large, for example, these large permanent rivers may indicate that the area receives high rainfall. High rainfall may explain the presence of dense forest in the region. Always also connect the vegetation pattern to the observable evidence on the map. So that's how you can explain the vegetation distribution by observing these kinds of points. So that's all I have for this session of the scribe, and thank you for listening. We've started discussing about the information on these topographical maps. We've seen the various steps on how you can tell the various information from the maps, and we've started discussing about the vegetation and how also the vegetation distribution can be seen on these topographical maps. So I hope that's clear, and thank you.